You know, I've been saying over and over that I'm going to analyze a literary adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. So now I'm putting those words into action because I'm finally going to analyze Jeanne-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont's version of the story. Once upon a time there was a very wealthy merchant who lived with his 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. Since he was a man of intelligence and good sense, he spared no expense in educating his children and hiring all kinds of tutors for them. His daughters were all very beautiful, but the youngest was admired by everyone. Let's pause for a moment. Are you shocked to hear that Belle has 5 siblings? Well, you shouldn't be. In the past, it was rare for a family to only have one child. Back then, and even now, children were important to maintain the longevity of the family history and traditions. It was actually the presence of children that allowed fairy tales to be as known as they are today. I'm not telling you to go out and have children, but I am telling you that the people of yesteryears understood the significance of large families. Now that that's established, let's continue. When the youngest child was small, people were used to refer to her as the beautiful child. The name Beauty stuck, and as a result, her 2 sisters were always jealous. The youngest daughter was not only beautiful, but she was better behaved. The 2 elder sisters were vain and proud, because the family had money. Our intro presents 2 red flags. The first is Belle's name. As you can tell from the passage, Belle's real name is not Belle. The villagers just call her that because of her physical beauty. This is actually an insult to the youngest daughter because she has been stripped of her identity and her individuality. She is just a mold of clay that society will work into their perception of womanhood. But for the sake of this analysis, we're going to continue to refer to the youngest daughter as Belle. The second and most important red flag is the female role models presented in this story. There's only 2 types. There's the passive subservient female, and then there's the jealous female, leaving little room for children to understand the complexities and diversity of a woman's role. Basically, de Beaumont reinforces societal pressures in her fairy tale to convince little girls to be like Belle, because if they don't, they'll end up like her sisters. Actually, right off the bat, I favor the sisters over Belle. They know what they want, they're assertive, and proud. However, de Beaumont turns these attributes into negative traits, because she made the older sisters arrogant and envious. So in this story, it's inevitable for young girls to aspire to be like Belle. Now let's continue. The 2 sisters tried to act like ladies of the court and paid no attention to the other merchant families. They chose to spend their time with only people of rank. Every day they went to balls, to theaters, to parks, and made fun of their younger sister who spent most of her time reading books. Now I'm just going to summarize the next segment. Many men proposed to the 3 sisters. Of course, like the stereotypes that they are, the 2 sisters turned them down because they didn't feel they had enough money or status, and Belle also refused because she felt she was too young to get married and didn't want to leave her father alone. Keep in mind, these are the stepping stones to shaping our perception of Belle and her 2 sisters. And to continue summarizing, their father lost his fortune, and when the 2 vain sisters crawled back to the many suitors who wished to marry them in the past, of course these men denied them. That's when the villagers kind of took advantage of the situation and said something that caught my eye. They said, "Those 2 girls don't deserve our sympathy. It's quite satisfying to see pride take a fall. Let them play the ladies while tending their sheep." So this very malicious statement deserves to be questioned. Why is it satisfying to see people who are on top fall to the bottom? Even in the movies, the audience cheers when the underdog takes out the villain. For example, when I saw the movie Avatar, the audience was clapping when the Na'vi triumphed over the humans. I don't understand the pleasure that it brings because even when that particular person falls, the superstructure is still there. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off on a tangent. It's obvious that the villagers in the story represent the controlled society. Just like our very own society, they pick out what is considered beautiful, what's considered just, what's considered acceptable. Basically, they tell you how to live your life. The villagers, or the controlled society, is telling the two sisters that they didn't act how women should. Therefore, they expected them to fail, and were glad when they did. Whereas Belle is conforming to their expectations, so she has the option of keeping her status and money because the many admirers were still willing to marry Belle because of her passive personality. I must stop here and say that there's nothing wrong with being shy or enjoying books like Belle, but there is something wrong with someone telling you that you have to be that way in order to fit in, or just in order to find love, and that's exactly what this story is trying to do. Now let's continue the story. When they arrived at the country house, the merchant and his 3 sons began working the land. Beauty got up every day at 4 in the morning and started cleaning the house and preparing breakfast for the family. It was hard for her at first because she was not used to working like a servant. At the end of the 2 months, however, she became stronger, and the hard work made her very healthy. After finishing her housework, she read a book or sang a song while spinning. Her 2 sisters, by contrast, were bored to death. They got up at 10 in the morning and took walks all day long, talking endlessly about the beautiful stuff they used to own. In my opinion, this paragraph is aimed more at young boys than young girls. I already emphasized that family is very important, especially before the crazy media culture took over. Therefore, young boys are seeing or hearing that Belle is a hard-working female and she'll go out of her way to make sure the family survives harsh times, whereas the 2 sisters are presented as selfish and overly materialistic. This story only reinforces that submissive women make good wives, and assertive women destroy the family. You know what's funny? In this century, the opposite is true. The media makes it seem like aggressive, materialistic women are more desirable wives, whereas the quiet, hard-working ones are not. Anyway, this would be the end of my analysis for today. I must say that there is so much details to consider in this story. We seriously just got through the first 2 pages, and there's about 10 more to go. With that said, I'll be taking another break from the Beauty and the Beast series. Next week, I'll be doing a short overview of the Final Fantasy XIII game, because this game made me realize the similarities between fantasy and reality. So tune in next week. Bye for now.